I need to end up somehow this subject of filters. It's super wide subject, and I could talk over and over because you probably notice we have a lot of options. However, what I would recommend you have options like pixelate, render. All of this actually is some kind of abstract effects that you can apply to your images. From my own experience, I know I even never looked into others people learning this, and I understand why, because the thing is these are just default effects that you have in Photoshop. And one thing you can do, you can open an experiment with this. If you're into graphic, you can look at the name, and names actually says you what does it offer: color halftone, crystallize, fragment, mesonet, mosaic. It's obvious which shapes you're going to get in Photoshop. However, there is one thing for sure I think has to be present for you, and why it's worth to work with Smart Object when we're using some of the effects. Let me duplicate this background layer because that's how we always work. And right now I'm going to do something that we didn't do before. I'm going to hit right, and we have option like convert to Smart Object. What does it mean and what does it offer? It means that every effect you're going to use is going to be applied into this layer as a separate element. I'm going to show you this filter, choose pixelate and crystallize. I really like the crystallize. It looks really fine on this image. I want some really soft, nice effect for it. Hit OK. And just now have a look how does it looks like and which effects it brings to us. When I turn off this layer, you can see the difference that it offers. Unfortunately, I close this. So of course, we're turning off the layer, we can see previous image, and it can work like this. However, in Smart Object, we can turn off the effect, so we can apply more effects, and then we can manipulate them and turn off the ones we don't like. So if you want to experiment with the effects in Photoshop with the filters that it offers to you, I would really recommend you to use Smart Objects, Smart Filters. Because for example, I'm going to use another one, which will be Mesonet. Oh no, this one doesn't look nice, so I'm going to pixelate and I'm going to use mosaic, maybe a bit soften. Okay, so we have two effects, and for example, don't like mosaic, we can turn this off. When you don't like crystallize, we can turn on mosaic. This crystallize giving me a really nice effect, kind of old-fashioned, I believe. And also what Smart Filters offers you, you can edit this every time. So for example, when I hit this, I can change the strength of my effect in Photoshop anytime I want. You have to say that's really powerful what Smart Filters are giving you. And whatever you're going to use, I always want you, maybe not always, because in many cases we don't need that, but often when there is a risk of not doing the right decision or being precise, I would recommend you to use Smart Filters. At the end of this section, I want to show you amazing effect, which is lightning effects, and I believe you're going to use this really often for photography. So hit filter, render, and on the bottom we have lightning effects. These effects are pretty much abstract. We can apply lens flare for it. On the separate color layer we can apply clouds on the empty layers and fibers. But what's the most important and the most interesting about render for photography are lightning effects. When you open this, it might look a bit weird at the moment, but we have two circles. The first circle is the center of our light. The second circle is the area where the dark exists and the dark going to cross into light. So you can manipulate this circle in any way. You can of course change the shape of it as well. As you can see, when you grab this like that, you can change the shape. For this image, the most suitable, I believe, is this ring. So I'm going to make this smaller like this because I want this central light over here. Maybe even a bit bigger. What's really fun for it, you can manipulate with this small circle inside, which is over here and called hotspot. You can make this bigger, or you can make this smaller to make smaller center of your light. I'm going to set something suitable for this image, not too big and not really too small. I want this central point really nicely brightened. We can set up the color for it. Usually I work with white color, however for this image you can see this yellowish color is going to work just fine. Hit OK. You can set up the intensity, however when you pull this too much it's going to be destructive. When you're going to turn down intensity, your image, simply speaking, will be just dark. So I'm going to set something really suitable for this image once again. Also, we can set exposure, however, exposure another dangerous point to not make this destructive. So have a closer look at the image. Right now we can do this to see what exposure is going to look well on this image, which is going to not affect the clouds too much to bring destructive effect. I'm going to pull this down to the point below 20. And this effect below 20 works really nice for me. Also, you can see how intensity works from the closer area, so that will be too much, and around 27 as it was before, 28 maybe, it will be just okay. The last thing that is useful, of course, we have additional options like gloss and metallic. It doesn't change so much for your image. As you can see, these are just glossness. You can add a little bit of glossness for your center of light, or take this down, as you can see, so you can have closer look from it. The same about metallic. As you can see, look at the grass before and after, small changes for your effect. At the end we have ambience. We have, simply speaking, set up our darkest point of the image, our darkness of the image. So when we bring this up, we just brightening up the dark areas and destroying the image. At the same point, of course, when you take this down, you're darkening the image and you're darkening the circle. That's why I like to keep this at 0, which is pretty much universal. When we finish it, we can just hit OK. And let's wait a little bit for this to apply for that image. And with this simple step, what we did, we turned this simple, maybe boring image into this interesting, with nice color image. Of course, we can just turn off the effect over here. We can see how does it looks with crystallize, because I want to see, I think the two effects going to look really interesting on that image. Okay, we need to wait for applying because it's quite slow, and right now I have really nice abstract effects. So that's how you can work with filters in Photoshop. You have really a lot of them. I recommend you to experiment with them, with different ones. I try to show you something you're going to use really the most. If you have any question about filters, and also if you have issue with some filter and want me to record specific lesson on specific filter, just send me a message, open a discussion under this lesson, and I'm going to do this for you.